Sorry for any background noise, as usual. But I just came across this. I found it interesting. I watched like the first 2-3 minutes of it. I thought that it was an interesting topic. They were comparing Jimmy Garoppolo and Matt Ryan's meltdowns, and I guess they were trying to see who was worse. I guess, but as I expected, they were going to try to shift some of the blame away from Jimmy Garoppolo and his performance, and try to either move the blame to somebody else or spread the blame around so he doesn't have to take as much accountability for the loss as anybody else would. So I think that team as a whole, the defense, the coaching wasn't good enough down the stretch, and I believe Jimmy Garoppolo did let them down. Because when you have a 10-point lead for a huge chunk of the second half, you have a 10-point lead for a huge chunk of the second half, and the other team isn't scoring, and you're getting possessions, and you're not putting up points, the problem is with the offense. Because San Francisco's defense kept them to 10 points, I believe, until like mid-fourth quarter. From like the beginning of the third quarter to like mid-fourth quarter, they were down to they had 10 points. They had 10 points, and they weren't really they weren't scoring anything. For that huge chunk of time, the defense was keeping them from scoring. Jimmy Garoppolo could have put more points up on the board. He could have put some touchdowns up on the board. And I could sit here and say that Kansas City had a far more improved defense this year than they did the previous year. But, that's not what the Patrick Mahomes guys are going to want to say. Oh, no, it was all Mahomes. It was all Mahomes. That defense is still bad. It was all Mahomes. That defense in Kansas City is really good. It's really good. I mean, they have a really good pass rush. The DBs, even though they aren't as highly touted or highly productive as some other secondaries in the NFL, they do a really good job with just doing their part. I mean, it's not like it was last year when New England and the Pittsburgh Steelers was completely destroying that secondary, especially when you have Tyrann Mathieu back there. So let's get that straight. But Jimmy Garoppolo could have put more points on the board than 20. They stayed at 20 for a while. And I believe they ended the game with 20. Yeah, right there. They ended the game with 20. So, I believe that although the defense didn't, I don't want to knock them for not being able to hold them to 10 points. I mean, because when you're holding a force like the Kansas City offense back as much as you possibly can, at some point, if your quarterback doesn't give you a comfortable enough lead, at some point the walls are going to break down and everything's going to rush in, and you won't be able to stop it at that point. And that's what happened. So let's move on to the video, man.
First, it calls on the defense, the pass rush, the secondary, the running game, before it calls on Jimmy G to win things. So Jimmy G didn't lose.
All right, so with us being in the passing league now, where we're seeing quarterbacks routinely, at least like 6 to 7 quarterbacks pass for 5,000 yards a season, it seems like, where, people are passing for 50 touchdowns, 40 touchdowns regularly, 35 touchdowns regularly. I remember when I was a kid watching the NFL, people were surprised. MVP winners were passing for 30 touchdowns. MVP winners now are passing for 40, 45 touchdowns. I mean, getting just to 30, not 31, getting just to 30 touchdowns puts you as a huge favorite to win the MVP as the quarterback. Maybe 4,000 yards. Not even going too high, just 4,000, maybe 4,100. Got you an MVP. Now, I mean, it's like you have to pass for over 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns to even be considered an MVP candidate. Running backs don't even win the award anymore. I mean, the last running back we've seen win the award was Adrian Peterson, I believe. So it's a passing league. It's a quarterback's league. You can't sit there and blame everybody else and not blame the quarterback at all. Especially when Jimmy Garoppolo came out after he was moved from New England, and he pretty much, without saying it, he said, Tom Brady was threatened by me. He had me moved because I was better than him, and he knew I was better than him. And in my mind, that will always, until Brady leaves, until Brady retires and never plays again, his career will always be linked to Tom Brady's career. And you will always be compared to what you did versus what Tom did. Because you opened up your mouth and you spouted out some stuff that you probably could have went without saying. And I always looked at Jimmy Garoppolo as that. He is a contemporary of Brady. So I want to see him perform as good as Brady does. Even if Brady doesn't put up the numbers, numbers of winning, I want to see him. And you got that massive contract, bro. He has to take the blame. Like, they gave him that contract before he even got on the field. And I can say without any doubt, 100%, I can say that Jimmy Garoppolo has not lived up to the money that they paid him, because they paid him to be the franchise quarterback, and he has yet to live up to it. I don't think that's too harsh. I don't think that's jumping the gun. I think since he signed that deal, I don't think he's lived up to earning that money.
This game, the 49ers lost this game because what has carried them to this point failed them at the most critical points.
Well, first of all, let's not be so literal, Mr. Lewis Riddick, okay? We all know it takes a team. We all know he doesn't play defense. We know he doesn't play special teams. We know that.
You said he was to blame.
Listen, I said, oh.
Look, when your team has a 10-point lead for as long as they did, it was 20-10 for a long time. I was watching the replay of the Super Bowl, and at the beginning of the third quarter, I believe it was 20-10, and damn near halfway through the fourth quarter, it was 20-10 again. And then I remember Patrick Mahomes going on that massive run. I think they scored like three straight possessions and won the game after that. But I mean, it was 20-10 for a while. You mean to tell me you can't put up 23 points, 27 points, 30, 34 points? You can't put up more points on the board to put some pressure on that offense?
Let me explain. You have immense respect for Matt Ryan, do you not?
Sure. I do.
Okay. When they were up 28-3, now that defense let the New England Patriots come back.
And that's another situation where the quarterback, that offense was to blame. The coaching was to blame. I believe Dan Quinn probably should have been fired after that game. Or whoever was play calling. If it was Kyle Shanahan, but Kyle Shanahan left. Somebody needed to take a huge brunt of that blame, man, because you're up 28-3 and going into the latter part of the third quarter, and you allow that offense to come back. And you can't blame the defense, man, because the defense did a hell of a job for 3 fucking quarters holding the Patriots down by the throat. And then eventually those young guys got tired, and that offense just completely sputtered. They failed. Again, this is another situation where the offense failed. The defense had them down by the neck, and they couldn't finish the job. They couldn't finish the job, man, because the offense failed them. And on one of those plays, man, where if a field goal could have potentially put the game away, a field goal could have put the game away. Matt Ryan I keep saying Matt Ryan had enough pull to call an audible instead of passing just to run the ball and get your kicker out there. He had enough pull, but no, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Isn't that the way people think? So they lived by the passing game, they died by the passing game, and that's what happened.
Has Matt Ryan's reputation ever been the same when you got a 20?
And this is another thing I keep saying. We got to stop propping up these teams so quick, man. I mean, every year it's like a different team they're going to be the one to dethrone the Patriots. They're going to be the one. It was Philly. It was the Rams. It was the Seahawks. It was, who else? The Falcons. I mean, it happens every year. It was supposed to be the Kansas City Chiefs too, but the comic Kansas City, they really didn't have a chance to play New England in the playoffs. So I'm not even going to say that they got the job done. I'm going to say that they did a good job with taking advantage of the schedule in the playoffs. But enough about New England. I'm just saying, every year we prop these young teams up because they're so talented. They're so this, they're so that. And we think that the quarterback of those teams are going to be the future. They're going to be the one that sets the barometer from now on. And sometimes they just don't live up to it, man. Because it's really, the easiest thing to do is to win, have one fantastic season. The hardest thing to do is figuring out how to keep it going. And that's all I got to say. So
25-point lead. At some point in time, you Matt Ryan. You getting over $30 million. You the quarterback, okay? How many times have we lamented the fact that they kept throwing the football instead of running the damn football? You've been there for 10 years. You can't audible. You gotta listen to Kyle Shanahan and Coach Quinn. You don't have the cachet to say, yo, the clock is our enemy, not them. We ain't throwing the damn.
That's what I keep saying, man. And I use that exact word. He has the cachet. You've been in the league for a long time. You've built up enough of a reputation where you can audible in the Super Bowl and not have your coach chew your fucking head off about it. And that was his failure. And I've said this for a long time. That was his failure. That was his failure. It wasn't the defense. It was his. Because you call an audible, you run the ball, you kick a field goal right there, and y'all win the game, man, because at that point it's not an 8-point game anymore. It's an 11-point game. And instead of New England scoring a touchdown, getting a 2-point conversion, now they got to score, 2-point conversion, get the ball back, and drive downfield to kick a field goal with no time. Bro, there was essentially no time because after they tied it up at 28, Atlanta had their drive. There was pretty much no time left for New England. I think they had, 1-2 plays? There was no time left for New England. So, y'all could have won the game. If you would have kicked the field goal, you had a greater chance at winning that game, but no.
In football, we gonna run it and make sure we run this clock out. We don't want to need to take anything.
That's what I'm saying. Once you got up to 28-3, you should have been a run-heavy team. You should have switched gears. And this is what... And I don't want to keep going back to New England, but this is what separates New England from everybody else. Because New England, they're a situational team. Whatever the situation calls for, that's what they're going to do. If it calls for them to pass the ball heavy, they're going to pass it. If the same game changes tones or changes momentum, they're going to switch to a run-heavy team. They're going to switch to a clock management team. Bro, they have so many different answers, man. This is what throws other teams off, is that they can switch it up. They can pretty much switch it up mid-game. I mean, I don't know, bro. I just, I think that these teams need to learn a thing or two from Belichick before, we prop these guys up, man, because it is really hard to win consistently. And the fact that New England was able to do it for 20 years in the NFL makes them the greatest, bro. This is the greatest run in sports history. I don't care what run you put up against it. You can't put up the UCLA Bruins when they won 88 straight games or something like that. You can't put that up against it. The Yankees and their 27 championships. I mean, look, it's harder. No, it's not harder. If you have the talent, it's easy to win in baseball. The thing about winning in baseball is that you never know, man. Hot streaks are so much more impactful in baseball because a team that has never won anything before can get hot and make it all the way to the World Series, and next thing you know, they're fucking champions and they never win again. Hot streaks happen. Hot streaks happen in baseball, and it completely derails the entire playoffs or postseason, whatever. Football is a physical sport. It's really fucking hard to win, man, because injuries take place. It completely knocks you off. I mean, I don't know. I think this is the greatest run we've ever seen because we've never seen a run like this before. And I don't think we ever will. And the Yankees are disqualified, man. I hate when people try to fucking use the Yankee conversation because the Yankees pretty much buy their championships. They have all the fucking money in the world. They convince people to come there by paying them a shitload of money. And if you convince enough great players to play, and baseball is different than like football or basketball, because if you have 5 future Hall of Famers on the basketball court at the same time, not everybody's going to be able to eat at the same time. Football, if you have too many great receivers on your receiver, not everybody can get the ball, man. There's only one ball. At least with baseball, everybody are responsible for their own statistics. Like, everybody can get a piece. If you don't get a piece, it's on you. Everybody can get a piece. So, let's go.
Kansas. You couldn't do that. Of course we held Matt Ryan accountable on several occasions. When you look at Deshaun Watson, we know that Deshaun Watson is a stud. Max Kellerman, Louis Riddick. Do you know the only reason we haven't called out Deshaun Watson? Because Bill O'Brien is his coach. So we got...
Yeah, Bill O'Brien makes himself he makes himself an easy target, man. What the fuck?
Somebody else to look at, but we looking at somebody because when you have a lead and you got somebody like Patrick Mahomes coming downhill after you, you gotta stop the bleeding. Who's gonna stop it? And
Let me tell you something.
Yo, Stephen A is about to have a heart attack, man. What the fuck is he doing? It look like he's turning red. It look like his face done puffed up, man. Like, it's weird, bro.
Garoppolo, I mean, damn. You couldn't do something, Kyle Shanahan. You couldn't do something. That's all I'm saying. We knew Patrick Mahomes wasn't going to be like that for the whole game.
Kyle Shanahan seems to be the common denominator. Or the most common denominator, sorry. When it comes to these fourth quarter failures in Super Bowls. Like when you have a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter and you lose the game the way you do. We can't blame it on Dan Quinn anymore. Like, maybe Kyle Shanahan doesn't have what it takes to get the fucking job done, because if I'm being honest, Kyle Shanahan should be a 2-time Super Bowl champion. But I guess his fourth quarter decision-making kind of fucks it up. I don't know. It kind of messes it up, I guess. Something Kyle is doing.
In the Patrick Mahomes era, there's going to be your Karl Malones and Patrick Ewings, brother. They're going to be...
Here we go. Sorry. Here we go. Comparing Patrick Mahomes to Michael Jordan. Already. Last year, he was the greatest quarterback of all time. This year, he's probably the greatest athlete in sports history. Right? Like, here we go. Here we fucking go. He wins one Super Bowl and everybody already threw him in the greatest of all time conversation. Already.
Dudes without
and how do we feel about that, Max?
Were it not for Mahomes. Well, okay, look,
Max,
Jimmy
that's
G
right, Max.
should have hit
Which
the
is what we
passes
talked
Louis Riddick
yesterday.
said to Emmanuel Sanders.
But see,
okay.
But what you're doing is
Lewis got into real quick. Lewis, you got into the pass from Mahomes. Mahomes called the play and then took a 13 and then threw it 60 yards, and the defense had to misplay the ball.
You know what, Lewis and Max? Oh, forget it. I apologize, Lewis and Max. I apologize. Let's not even compete against Patrick.
Yo, Louis Riddick should just shut the fuck up, because you can't out-scream Stephen A. Smith. You can't out-yell him. Jeez, he should just be quiet, bro. Just let the segment go by.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
You're right. This debate is not, is Jimmy Garoppolo as good as Pat Mahomes? Can Jimmy Garoppolo do the things that Pat Mahomes can do? That's not it. The question was, is Jimmy Garoppolo responsible for the San Francisco 49ers losing the Super Bowl?
All right. That is a good point, man. But if you're going to compare yourself, which this is what he did to Tom Brady, like when he made those comments, Tom was just coming off of a Super Bowl victory against who? It was the Falcons. He was just coming off the victory against the Falcons. And it was like mid-season when they decided to move him or whatever. And like Tom was still playing at the height of his career, man. At the height. Tom was still playing great football. And you said you were better. You said you were better and he was threatened by you. Because he told that little story about... Look, let me just say this, man. When people are super fucking hyper competitive, like Tom Brady is, losing sucks and you fucking hate it. I don't care if it's racing to the fucking bathroom. Losing sucks and you don't fucking like it. It's just being competitive. This is what makes Tom Brady the greatest quarterback in my fucking opinion, man, because he's hyper fucking competitive. He doesn't like to lose. That means he's going to out-prepare. He's going to make sure he's more prepared than anybody and try to outperform anybody. I mean, you got to appreciate something like that. And because Jimmy Garoppolo is younger, probably most likely with a better arm. Tom has never had a really ridiculous arm. He has a better arm, I'm pretty sure. Oh, he was threatened by me. He wanted me out of there, which I believe is the case. He wanted Garoppolo gone, but I don't think he wanted Garoppolo gone because he was threatened by him. I believe he wanted Garoppolo gone because Belichick loved Garoppolo. I believe that. I believe he loved that kid and he wanted to move on with him. But Brady wasn't done yet. And they were in the middle of winning. I mean, how many of you at a great job in the middle of one of your greatest runs of financial superiority, like, would you want to get fired? Would you want to get moved? Like, I mean, you're in the middle of making the most, like profiting as much as you possibly can. Like, I mean, at some point, integrity, pride, that type of stuff, man, it comes into play. And no one can blame Tom for wanting to maintain the position. I mean, it's like getting moved down from CEO to fucking mailroom. Like, you don't want to lose your fucking position. So you're going to do whatever you can to hold on to it, man. But, this is why I say, man, Jimmy Garoppolo's career until Tom retires will always be intertwined. And his success or his failure will always be compared to Tom's career. Or Tom's stretch that we have here. Because he opened up his mouth and he said those things and he shouldn't have. And then if he wouldn't have said that, a lot of people wouldn't be looking at Garoppolo and comparing him to one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen. We'd be sitting here judging Garoppolo based on Garoppolo and Garoppolo alone, not trying to throw him in the ring with fucking Brady. But look, a lot of times your mouth gets you in trouble. But I'm done, man. This video already went 20 fucking minutes. But I found this topic really interesting, and I felt like, I had some really good points to make to the argument. But all right, everybody enjoy your Sunday, man.